right, the podcast has started. Welcome, everybody. My name is Miguel Dominguez, and I am the host, the only host. There is nothing else above this. Everybody else, please introduce yourselves.
What about host infinity, though?
Ooh.
No, what are we, five? Let me do this proper. I'm Frankie Martinez, Jiu-Jitsu Black Belt, host supreme.
Ooh, right. Hi, everybody. I'm Janet. I'm also your host.
Hello, everybody. This is Anthony. I am your supreme host.
This is just Marie. Hi.
And I'm Jules. I am the honorary host, supreme host, times infinity.
Okay.
And one.
And one.
Plus one.
And beyond.
No one can see your passes, bro.
I am the highest host.
We don't have that technology just yet. But anyways, way to mess it up.
We need to get on video soon.
We should. That'll be great.
I don't know if we should be talking about what we want to do on the podcast while the podcast is going, but I just did that.
That's fine. So, thank you for coming, Jules. I know that you do jiu-jitsu.
I do jiu-jitsu.
And you're also a lawyer.
I'm also a lawyer, yes, ma'am.
And a public defender?
Right now I'm with the DA's office. I was a public defender before this job. I worked for the Federal Public Defender's Office, and then before that, I was with the Harris County Public Defender's Office. But now I'm in the DA's office, so as opposed to defenders keep people out of jail, now my job is to put people in jail.
Oh.
But it's a pretty unique niche.
I was about to ask you what's the difference, because to the uneducated,
so
I work for the government. That sounds like
so I do work for the government, and it's weird because everybody always like oh, you got public defenders, you got the worst lawyers in the bunch, but it's actually not true because the county and the feds they vet your public defenders, so your public defenders are actually some of the best lawyers that they have out there. When I went to the public defender's office, at the time, he was Senator Rodney Ellis, but now he's County Commissioner Rodney Ellis. When the Harris County Public Defender's Office opened up, he called me up and was like, I called my mom, and he was like, Jules needs to go to the defender's office, so tell him to shut down his practice and go. And I was like, well, I'm not interested in doing that. He was like, no, you're going to do it. And it's something about a senator telling you to do something, you just kind of go.
The senator just said you're going to do it?
Yeah.
It's just like, you know what? Okay. You got the stuff, kid. I believe in you.
He basically bullied me to a lesser degree of what Miguel does.
I love that when Miguel reenacts things, it's the Roaring 20s. I love that.
Every time, right? He's got a Tommy gun.
Wait, does that called your mom? Is that what I heard you say? Like, tell your boy he has to do it.
Yeah.
Do y'all have a background like before that, or did y'all grow up together on the same street?
No, not even remotely. But
call your mom.
Is there some kind of application process?
My mom is like my parents. They're implants. I'm actually first generation Texan, but they're implants. My mom's Bahamian through Florida. My dad's from Mississippi, but they came in and they were just. My mom, 77. So I was a lawyer in 77, so they were really political and they were doing that whole bit, and they just got really connected. So my parents are super connected in the city, and I just kind of lucked up into it, I guess, that they were able to have and maintain such a good name. So then I just try to keep doing this.
Yeah, then one day, Mrs. Johnson, I got the perfect score for your son.
Here he is, back to the 20.
You need your son to fight prohibition.
Oh my God.
Well, this is the new times. It just ain't cutting it anymore.
Right.
What's the niche you're in? You were talking about.
So the normal DA's office is just people putting people in jail for breaking in houses and robbing people and blah blah blah.
Right.
I'm in the civil rights division at the DA's office, so my job is actually to prosecute police for excessive force.
What?
So anybody that I'm putting in jail is or was a police officer.
Wow.
So it's super nuanced.
Very niche.
Wow.
Very niche.
It's interesting. I read some articles like where big cases. This was years ago. A big case is going down where they were prosecuting police officers in like Denver Harbor for taking advantage of their position.
That's us.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is right now, right?
This is right now.
I see.
So how do you like it? Do you like it better than your old job?
So I do. I like it infinitely better. For a couple of reasons. One, when you're a defense attorney, somebody goes in and they break in somebody's house, and like you're doing your job is to get this person like the least punishment possible, possibly even off if their rights have been violated. But it's kind of a dick move because they broke into somebody's house. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
Right.
It's kind of like,
But do they ever have a legit reason?
to break in the house?
Yeah.
Maybe they forgot their key or
So that's weird because when I'm at intake working down from like La Calle, there was a dude this weekend that got arrested for like his 900th time for shoplifting.
Wow.
But he shoplifted 2 packs of diapers.
Oh.
You know, I mean, so it's kind of like wow. And I'm sitting there the whole time like, oh shit, I really need to go to jail for this, man.
I know.
I get it, but
There's a good old story of a man who went to jail for trying to steal a piece of bread. He grows up and then he escapes to jail. He ends up meeting his daughter, not even knowing so. It's kind of very musical like.
did it happen in the 20s?
No, it did not.
That's a real story?
No, it's the theme for Les Miserables.
Oh, yeah. Over my head, sorry.
Yeah.
So
His name is John Jacques. I think.
But now I still get the feeling of being able to protect the citizens like of Denver Harbor from the overwhelming power of the government, because the police come in, they start doing whatever they want to do. Who's going to stop them?
Oh yeah,
Right.
for sure. That's
Like
what I think about.
big problem that seems to be going on right now.
For sure.
Bro, you wouldn't.
Is business
Oh
a
my
booming?
God. Yeah, it is. So, in the grand scheme of careers, you're talking about, medical profession, law profession. Miguel's some sort of, voice impersonator.
That's his profession.
what he does.
I only impersonate people from the 1920s.
Only impersonate people from the 20s. But you have all these careers and jobs out there that make like a lot of money. And then you have our first responders who don't make shit. Like, they get paid next to nothing.
It's nice.
And so your job as an officer is to go out here and arrest some 19-year-old kid. True story. 121 got arrested by the feds. They went to the place where they were in. They had, I think they estimated like 100 kilos of cocaine had been broken down. And they found, I think it was like $750,000 in the place. And they pulled them over in a car with $500,000 in it. They're 19 and 21. You a cop, you've been working, you got a family. And you see that, it's like the temptation is so far out there and we don't pay them enough to keep the temptation down. You have a good job, you have a good family, you're making 6 figures a year. I'm not going to risk everything for that. You put on a vest to go get shot at every day and somebody's like, you can take this extra $5,000 and walk out. You're like, I'm going to take this $5,000 and walk out because nobody appreciates me. So
No one's going to notice. And no one's going to...
Yeah.
Think.
That's crazy, dude. I bet you that they were like, oh, you want $10,000? We'll smoke this. And they're like, I can't. That'll implicate me even further.
It's really hectic. It's hectic and it's kind of hard to watch, but I deal with a lot of that. But the part that's hard is it's the brutality angle that I deal with. So what I end up doing is like I have 2 phones, And despite what Kevin Gates says, one is not for the plug and the other is not for the load. I have a phone literally that rings when the police fire a gun and a bullet hits somebody. I could end up having to go out to the scene of this. So I end up going to these scenes with a freshly killed body. As always, some 17, 18, 19-year-old minority who was, for whatever reason, ended up being shot by the police. Sometimes right, sometimes wrong, despite what we think. A lot of the times, like 99% of the time, he was like asking, like begging to be shot by the police. It's crazy.
That's crazy.
Like literally saying, "Shoot me, bro! Shoot me!"
Or through their actions or something.
No. Literally saying, "Shoot me! What? Y'all gonna have to shoot me. I'm not going to jail." Like you're like, what? You see it on the body cams, and it's like, wow,
Damn.
Waving a gun around.
Wait, so how do you feel? Because, like, the stories of police brutality that we would hear, like, in social media are very, like, opposite of that. Like, you don't see the person begging to, like, get shot. So, is that, like, the 10% that just doesn't...
So it's the media. Mm-hmm. And even the scenes that I go out on, there's always a camera out there, and there's some dude who kind of looks like Anthony with the directional mic. And he's just pointing, waiting to pick up whatever anybody says out there. And then you hear about it on the news the next day, and you get the people from around. He was a good kid. He didn't do nothing to nobody, but they haven't examined the ballistics. The people that are there don't know that there was a gun. They didn't see any of that. And the news never goes back and revisits the case. No. So they look at what was right there, right then. But they don't get the body cam that shows maybe when he ran out of the alley, he didn't have the gun in his hand. But when he was in the alley, he had the gun pointed at the cop who shot him. Then he dropped the gun. And then when he fell out of the alley, he doesn't have a gun. People don't see that. And so that's the part, like, and since they never revisited the news, they report on it right then, and the next day something else happens, and whatever that is done and over.
The media definitely has a lot to do with how the public reacts. And I know you're probably familiar with the case of the cop who was let go because he shot a woman in her home. The guy called a welfare check.
The one in Dallas, yeah.
The one in Dallas. How do you feel about that? Do you think that what they did was right, letting him go based on, the protocol that allegedly I don't know who was the captain or the police chief said that he didn't follow protocol, right? That he didn't do what he was supposed to do. But I don't know if that's correct, right? Because that's what the media told me.
So
sometimes you gotta be a loose cannon.
Well, maybe, but not when people end up dying. I just think that the problem, and so protocol is a big deal with the police, but when they talk about not letting go of protocol for stuff like that, they're mainly talking about what he did that put other officers in danger. Because when you think about what he did, Frankie and I are both cops. We go up to a scene. There's an open door. You call in. Nobody responds when you call in. Now, you're just going in for a welfare check, which means it doesn't necessarily mean there's anything violent going on. You just don't know. Something could be wrong. It's 2:00 in the morning, the door's open. But instead of calling, waiting, seeing the door, flashing my light and the door's open so technically I can go in without violating anybody's constitutional rights, instead I creep around the back of the house and look through a window and see somebody there and then freak out because the person has a gun. Well, they're in their house. You can have a gun in your house. And it doesn't have to be hidden or anything like that. So when I go out and do that and act like, kind of the loose cannon like Miguel, I end up putting Frankie in danger. Because he's with me and I go out and I just start shooting at somebody. And then now he could end up being hurt because I just decided I was going to do whatever I wanted to do.
Right. You don't even coordinate with anybody else. You don't do
the hand signals.
The hand signals. Yeah, you don't do the seal touching of your mic. You guys seen that where the seals touch like their throats or like?
We do that on it's always actually on Call of Duty. You should get on.
Is it?
Yeah, we do it all the time.
I do it in real life.
Why do you touch your throat? for the uneducated?
Well, I mean, they have a little mic there, and they don't even have to touch his throat. They just speak like really, really softly, and they'll pick up.
How does it pick up? How does it sound?
It sounds like.
Are you actually saying something? If I hear that, is that a trigger?
Yeah.
No, when you hear, hey man, I love you.
Okay.
Like, just mumbling. Does that tell me something?
Yeah, no, for sure. It picks up. It picks up on the mic because it's doing your vocal cords. I don't know the whole heuristics of it, but that's what I think is going on.
Did they have that in the 20s?
I don't know.
I'm sure they had mics in the 20s.
I know. I mean, we were the big radio era.
Radio era. Miguel, all of a sudden, he's 90 years old.
I can see Miguel in a little brass band, in a.
Bro, I get a little red bow tie.
With this fancy hair. I love that.
Oh, pompadour hairstyle.
Great.
Yeah, but Frankie knew the risk.
Yeah, it's rough though, man.
All right, so wait.
Sorry. And police don't really get a lot of training in those type of things, don't they? Like in emergency, dire kind of situations. Because I have a couple friends who went to the academy and everything, and I've out of the blue we met up and we were talking about it, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I just literally just got out of class." And they were showing us a bunch of videos of cops getting shot, from traffic stops, stuff like that, all these things gone wrong. And they told us while we were in there, they told a whole, basically, class of future police officers, either you go home or they go home. You decide. So they tell you, either you're going to die or they're going to die.
That's in essence the way it's. So when you think about it, it's really hard to train somebody for a high stress adrenaline situation.
Right.
You can't, we can go paintballing, I guess, but it's not, you know what I'm saying? It's not really the same as that whole life on the line type of ordeal, which is part of what we have to consider when we're looking at whatever. But that really is, it's really, so this has nothing to do with this. This is kind of, you gave me a mic, Miguel.
An auxiliary?
It is. So I have an issue with the fact that the government across the board has over-militarized the police. Yeah. And so, the police, they have camo jackets, AR-15s, armor-piercing bullets and armor deflecting, all this stuff. And I get that all this other stuff is out there, but when you do that, the only time you have a military is when you're fighting an enemy. So if the police are militarized, they're not protecting and serving. They're fighting an enemy. And then when you get, it's either us or them, that's what you hear. That's what you would expect a Marine, it's us or them. That's what you expect from that, not the police. And so, and that's a huge issue because they get that us or them mentality.
You know what you're saying? I see, I'll briefly see, in some other first world countries where the police aren't really armed so heavily. They look, they could be confused for a security guard, but they're actual police officers. And most of the time, their interactions with the public isn't as authoritative.
We're super aggressive, bro. You've got armored squad car, not squad cars, but the armored Bearcats and all this stuff. And it's what? Why do you need that? Why do you need
that? We're fighting some kind of terrorist.
Do you think? Sorry. Do you think maybe it's a gradual escalation? I don't know the facts for sure or why things are the way they are, but maybe it's a gradual escalation of the issues that we have in this society, in this country. We've had a history of riots, of differences, whatever it be, a class difference, racial difference. And so throughout the last just 60 years, we've had riots, we've had unrest, we've had high crime rates in different areas. So maybe militarization is justified, where in these other countries, you look at the past 60 years and it's been relatively steady, I guess. I'm not saying I know the issues for sure, but I kind of see where other countries, this is the thing. Like other countries don't have as much diversity. They don't have as much social issues to deal with. So maybe that's reflected in the way they govern each other, or police each other.
So let's walk down this path.
That was a heavy ass.
It's a dope path. It's a dope path.
Okay.
Frankie's a dope dude. He's one level host under me.
Fair enough.
Which is 2 levels under me. I want to point that out.
So that makes sense. So whenever you hear people start talking about like the arming of the police, they always talk about, well, the bad guys are armed. So the bad guys are armed. But which bad guys are armed? The drug dealers. That's who's armed. The drug dealers are armed. How do we take the guns out of their hands? Legalize it today. That's the drug dealers are armed because they're protecting their money. That's why they're armed. And so in order to prevent that, then the government ramps up their armory because they're trying to fight the cartels, and cartels have some dope guns.
Wait a minute. Are you saying the police are trying to take the cartel's money?
I think I will say I'm not. Lonzo was not based on a true story, but there are events much like Lonzo.
What is Lonzo?
Training Day.
Oh,
yeah. Okay. Cool.
So
I referenced it earlier, so I feel stupid now.
No, I got it. But when you're trying to fight these people and you start looking at countries like in Europe,
yes, Denmark or Switzerland,
where it's not necessarily legal, but it's decriminalized to have then you don't have the level of drug dealing that you have. So the drug dealers don't need rocket launchers and grenade launchers and all that, and they're not fighting over the drones.
Drones, yes.
They're not fighting over territory like they are here. And so the police don't need to be able to keep up with that. Now, I get it. Legalizing drugs is
I'm all for it.
But it's a long road with all the red tape and all that. I mean,
yeah, no, I think just cut it.
We can all
everybody can do whatever.
Regular Joes,
everybody can do whatever. That's what.
There's nothing regular about you, Frankie.
Thank you, sir.
If we ever you ever get to go on video, I would zoom in on Frankie's eyes, and just the whole podcast is just his eyes. Like,
he's tired.
Look at
he's hired.
Like a lighter shade of
look at
brown.
Look at the lashes on this guy. Oh my god, it's amazing.
I didn't know that was.
Yeah.
You look very bashful.
I'm gonna get into his eyes.
It's a good thing we're not on video yet.
It'll just be 20 minutes of Jules looking into it.
That's right.
See, that's interesting because I wonder, if it's gonna be like the hardcore drug dealer once the thing moves over to legal, and then they're like, well, I guess I have to switch it up, right? And this is not my next.
Wow. Back to prohibition. Okay.
They're Italian mobsters,
I guess I'm in the bar now. And they become the local entrepreneurs. Like, hi kids, how's it going on? I'm just your regular old drug dealer. Legal.
It'll definitely be. I mean, you can still have drug dealing be illegal. It's just a different type of illegal. Have the tax evasion that they do. Have, if you're not have the proper permits, then you get the fine and the penalty for all that. And you just make the capital out of it, because at the end of the day, the person is using the drugs. Take, for example, heroin. They wanted to get all the people off. They put them on methadone. Those people are still whacked out of their mind because of the methadone.
Yeah.
But they're not doing the stuff that the heroin addicts were doing, because all they have to do is go to the clinic and get it. And so you bring that level down, and the people, they're hurting themselves. That's who they're hurting. And their loved ones, I guess.
And anybody that they've ever touched.
But at least you get them in those clinics and out of the streets where they can commit crime. And then once they're in the clinics, then you can offer help for them to get clean and offer them addiction treatment.
Yeah, so it's just like a redemption story rather than a accusation. or some kind of like crime happening, right?
It's much better than fighting this 40-year war that we're losing on a regular basis.
I mean,
for sure.
Like, whenever you compare, abusing drugs and abusing alcohol, they're very similar, right? Like, whenever someone is like an alcoholic, it deeply affects not only like their lives, but like everyone around them. Like, everyone around them suffers, right? And that's not much different from somebody that's like addicted to heroin. But see, alcohol is legal. I just can't buy it before noon on Sunday here for some reason. I don't know.
Right.
I hate that.
So people don't go to church.
That's whenever I want it the most.
It's like Chick-fil-A.
It's like Chick-fil-A.
It's just like Chick-fil-A.
I can drive by Chick-fil-A every day of the week, and then I'm like, man, I gotta have a sandwich.
Any Chick-fil-A conversation I've had has happened on a Sunday.
Yeah.
Usually.
So it's like everything else that you only want it when you can't have it.
Yeah.
You only want it when you can't have it.
So
Chick-fil-A's so delicious.
Economics is so crazy.
I bet you that's a marketing scheme for sure. Like the Sunday thing, they were like, this thing is kind of working out. I bet you Monday is sales through the roof, guys.
It kind of is.
I'm
I've
probably
been there on a Monday morning.
Oh, yeah.
And the lines are
It's
crazy.
like basic capitalist mentality. I want money, be open as much as possible. So, like, the next level of thinking is
Communism.
no, let's not go there yet.
He's leading up to
Yeah,
it.
he's leading up to it.
Create a demand, close one day out of the week, and bam, more people want it during the other days. Genius.
It really is. That Chick-fil-A closes at like 9.
Yeah.
You drive by Whataburger at 8:30. Drive by Chick-fil-A at 8:30. I mean, you swear they would give it away money.
We know who's king, right?
Yeah,
Popeyes is trying to make up something about it, but we know.
I respect them, but yeah.
I don't.
All right, so back to you going to a crime scene, right? Because your phone for the
Plug.
For the plug, yes. So the phone goes off, and you're like, it's time. And then you put on your suit.
It's really just like that. It's actually, I have a bust statue in my house. Flip the head back, push the button, floor opens up, slide down a pole.
As you're sliding, you're changing. I don't know how that happens. It just happens. It came.
Hey, Butler's like, are you gonna be out late again, Sir Jules?
Mr. Johnson?
I don't know.
Well, that's kind of strange. I've never heard of a lawyer having to show up at the crime scene, except a very specific type of lawyer. No, from what I'm learning,
the DA's office has officer gets shot. If an officer gets shot, there's a band of prosecutors to go out to that scene. If an officer shoots somebody, then we go out to that scene, and believe it or not, there is a batch for vehicular crime. So if there is like an alcohol related death, there is a batch of prosecutors to go out to that scene, and all of it is about evidence preservation and trying to make sure that things aren't missed or overlooked.
Wink, wink.
Right.
Wait. So would there be like a forensics guide that would be there with you just going
Oh, yeah,
through?
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, it's so when I say evidence preservation, we don't collect or pick up or touch any of the evidence, but we'll go, and Harris County Institute of Forensic Science has a batch of guys that come out, and they go out to everything, but they'll be out there collecting the evidence. And if you see something on the ground that you may think has a particular whatever, you say, let's get that too, or let's get this and make sure this gets swabbed for DNA or whatever the case may be. Sometimes it's right, sometimes it's wrong, but when you're looking at it with the long term of how am I going to win this case at trial?
I see.
So then you start planning for that.
That's very interesting. That's like proactive.
Yeah.
That's really cool because it's kind of like a Sherlock Holmes the new Sherlock Holmes with Benedict Cumberpickle. And
Not the Sherlock
I was thinking Robert Downey Jr.
no, I mean that was good. That was good as well. But the Benedict Cumberpickle is within our times.
When you arrive on a scene, do the cops get kind of like anxious or anything, or how do they react towards you arriving?
They scoff at you or be like, "What do you want?"
Do they treat you like a different team?
So not really, because the general, I mean, even though they know why we're out there, the general premise is we're all on the same side and that we're kind of there to protect the officer. Is what they think. And really, we're just there. I mean, literally, just evidence gathering. Like, I just want to know what happened. I'm not really on anybody's side.
I see.
I mean?
You're just trying to solve the case.
You're trying to solve this mystery.
I'm on the case, guys.
Yeah. You're walking around and you're looking at clues and you're like, it's C because of the size of the shoe that this man has stepped 3,000 times rather than 2.
Have you ever watched Blue's Clues?
No.
Yes.
Yes.
It's kind of like that.
Oh.
It's like a kid show?
Yeah.
Kind of like Blue's Clues. No, but you just look for, so there are things that will happen like you look for inconsistencies and you try to figure out what those inconsistencies are and look for reasons for them.
Press X for doubt.
Right.
So do you like to watch shows like Dexter? Or do those shows piss you off?
I love watching Dexter, but because Dexter's like he doesn't go to court.
Yeah.
Dexter just
he never goes to court.
He never goes to court, so it's fine. Now when they're in the court, I'm like, that's an objection. Jesus, nobody does it. But as long as they're not in court, I'm fine. I'm like,
nobody
whatever.
says objection?
On Dexter?
Dexter?
No, like in real life.
In real life, I would be like, why is anybody objecting? This would never happen. Nobody would ever do this in a real courtroom. Like, this would never happen. This is all wrong. And so I try not to watch those. But I watch most other stuff. I watch a lot of like my wife likes to watch when she's not watching Real Housewives or whatever. We watch like a lot of like Snapped and Forensic Files and that type of stuff.
I love Forensic Files.
Yeah, I watch a lot of those, and I also watch a lot of Rick and Morty.
Yeah,
So,
that means you have a high IQ.
The new episodes are out. Yeah,
It's pretty good.
You have a very high IQ.
You also, and I can attest to this personally because I hear it all the time, you watch a lot of 90 Day Fiance.
I watch a lot of 90 Day Fiance.
What?
That looks good.
That show's pretty fun.
You need
what is
cable, right?
premise?
You need cable to watch.
Wait. Can I? All right. Here's the thing.
TLC.
Who hasn't seen 90 Day Fiance?
I haven't.
I've seen clips on social media.
Okay, so those who have not, make a guess as to what it is. Janet, starting with you.
I'm going to guess that you have barely met this person and then you're engaged for 90 days and then you call it off.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Go ahead, Frankie.
I've seen clips. It kind of focuses. Or am I guessing or am I telling?
No, you have to guess.
Okay.
You have to guess what the show's about.
Okay, can I be wrong or do I have to be right?
You can be,
Never be wrong.
you can be as right as you are. Just know that you have to swear on the Bible. There's a lawyer next to you.
The show focuses on like the mail order bride kind of industry. So if you're going to another country to meet your significant other, you use that 90-day window to figure out if you're going to seal the deal or not.
Okay, here's what I think it is. I think it's like a bride that's she's always a bridesmaid, never a bride. That type of deal. And it's like for the first time she has 90 days to try to get with whoever it is in the situation. I guess the season. And then as they're trying to do that, she's doing challenges. She has to prove her worth. Her and the 23 other 90-day brides, which are also trying to win this man's heart.
So I guess you've never seen this, Miguel?
Like Bachelorette meets Survivor.
Yeah, that's exactly what it sounds like. Would you like to explain what it is, Jules?
It's a pretty dramatic show. It's about people who, because of the internet, they're now on these like weird dating, like it's like Tinder, only it's like Tinder for Pakistan. So you've met somebody in some foreign country and you try to meet them and you meet them and you talk to them and then you get them a K-1 visa. The K-1 visa is the spousal visa, the fiance visa. And but when you get somebody into the U.S. with that visa, you have to get married in 90 days.
Mm.
Most of these people have only physically been together for 15 to 20 minutes before they propose and then try to bring the person over here. So it's literally like watching people who are engaged to be married in the first 3 months of their relationship. Like, and it's amazing to watch. It's amazing to watch.
You get some couples that you just know they're not meant for each other.
Terrible.
But there's one of them's trying to make it work, or the other has some ulterior motive,
And by the other, you mean the person that doesn't have anything is trying to actually get something from America?
Is there ever a person that's like it's like a woman or a man that posts a picture but they don't look anything like the picture? Does that ever happen?
So it kind of has happened, but that's more like I'm going to put, this is a picture from my senior year of high school, and I no longer look like that. I'm now got 5 kids, and I'm a little bit heavier, or I'm not as tall, or my hair is gray, or I'm balding. And, they get that a lot. The thing that you get more, which is really, really funny, is if you ever visit third world countries, everybody thinks Americans are rich. Like, they just think, just Americans are rich.
Yeah.
So they're like, oh, well, the guy will say, I'll get you everything you need. And then the women are like, I thought he was going to buy me Versace. And you're like, no, he said everything you need. That means you're going to have toilet paper and some chips. Like, why did you think you were going to get Versace just because you were coming to America? But a lot of them think that that's like, I get an American man, and this means that I'm going to be like, I thought I was going to be in Hollywood. It's like, why? He said he was from Wisconsin. What did you think was going to happen?
Yeah.
There's only one Mercedes in the entire state of Wisconsin.
And a lot of cheese. I bet you she got some cheese.
Right. That's the part that's really funny to watch, is because there's a real weird, like, power dynamic struggle. A lot of the men look a lot like you and I, Miguel, kind of wretched. And a lot of the women look like Janet and Marie. They're, very beautiful, far too great for us.
Top notch.
A1.
And then you're sitting there, the guy's all lucky that he's got this, so he's doing everything he can to please her. Like, they're like not paying their rent and stuff, trying to get this woman stuff. They're like, you're going to be homeless, dude. That's just going to leave for real. Like, but it's a good show to watch if you ever.
No, not if you lock her up, you put that, you put that little ring on there, and then that's attached. Now she has to deal with you.
I thought you meant like kidnapper, honestly. It sounded like kidnapping at first, and I was like, wait, what? No.
No, it's not kidnapping. It's just
literally.
Yeah. It's just like monetarily kidnapping, right? Because now you're dependent off of me. Right?
Oh, that's the other part about the K1 is unique. Like when they come over after you get married, you agree to provide for this person for 10 years. And whether you're together or not, like, you're responsible for them. Right. Right. Really major. And even if they get married or not, they are not allowed to work for a certain period of time. So you literally have people that will bring people over, get married to them, and they have to support this new family by themselves. That's a lot.
Yeah,
I wonder how much they pay them to be on the show.
I was trying to figure that out, and so you're going to hate me for this, Marie.
Uh-huh.
But I kind of wanted to apply my little buddy for the show. I did. I was like, maybe, but
you mean like
without him knowing?
So
wait, in this situation, is your buddy going to be the mail order bride, or is he going to?
No, he's going to look for the mail order bride.
Okay.
So I'm not really a dick, Frankie. Well, you know that.
Hey, you don't have to preface it.
So go ahead. This is going to be good.
This is an open space.
So I made a dating profile site.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, well, maybe if I could just start the conversations, I'll get the conversation started. So Ellie's my wife. So it was like, me and E were just like, start the conversations, get them going. And then one day be like, yo, why don't you meet us over here? You know what I'm saying? So like you've already had this conversation, the picture, it's a person's like interested, and then they show up, and my little buddy's there, and he does, but he's so aggressive.
You're gonna parent trap your buddy?
That's what basically.
The buddy, he's a friend of yours.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
I got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's talking about himself. Him and his wife are looking for someone else.
It was like, anyway. I don't. It's just so.
But you never went through with this.
No, we made the.
They're doing it right now.
Made the thing,
this is happening as we speak.
Call him up.
So we never. So those things are really weird, and I'm not really an online dater. I never online dated and didn't online date before I got married. Yeah, it's a huge thing, and I'm like, these people are psychopaths. But so it's hard for me. Like, I just want to meet somebody. Like, let's go meet up and talk. And so it never really. And then I had to keep making one of those. Like, Tinder is attached to your Facebook page, and so then if you put the email address in, they have to send the email, and then people contact the email. And
well, how far are you willing to go to create this fake life?
Dude, I really, 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 I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go all in.
This sounds like something I want to see you play out. Like,
please keep us updated. If you
make a blog.
That would be dope, right? Okay, let's do it. I mean, absolutely met this person. But I really do think that but here's my fear though. My little buddy is so aggressive.
What do you mean?
Like he's super aggressive. Like almost like high school, like middle school aggressive, elementary school aggressive. Oh, I see.
This kid was born
like, I like you. I'm going to trip you and then kick you down and, laugh and run away. And I think that even if if you do all this stuff and the woman gets there and she's gorgeous and she already likes him because she's seen his picture and his lack of hair and his height and she knows all this stuff and she's still willing to come out and meet you, I still think that he would be like, who did this? Why are you here? Nobody wants to talk to you. And then he'd be like, oh my God, dude, what are you doing? I could just totally see that happening.
Yeah, but
super aggressive.
Yeah,
I agree. Yep.
We don't do this for the failure. We do this for the success. What happens if on the other side of that, he's just being all like super aggressive, and then all of a sudden, there's like a one tear coming off of this Russian chick, and like she's crying one tear because like it's slit, because like it's very hard for these Russian people to cry. So this other person, your little friend, he knows he fucked up, right? He knows he messed up because this is like a person with a cold heart. How can he make someone like that cry? So then he opens up his heart. And then now they start off a conversation. They end up saying, like, you know what? What do we have to lose? Let's just run away together, right? And then that's how their indie movie starts.
Never hear from them again.
Right. They ride off into the sunset.
Definitely not what's going to happen.
It could.
You don't want to traumatize somebody, just for the sake of blogging about it.
Out of a million?
Well, no.
What do you have to lose other than a friendship?
I'm still looking for ways. Like, I'm actively hunting for ways to. He just doesn't. It's my buddy.
All right, so
I love how we have a highly accomplished, highly distinguished attorney here, and we're talking to him about creating fake dating profiles and 90-day fiancé.
So I think this is called catfishing. Honestly, I'm not.
No, it's.
Oh no, it's not, because in the end, the actual
it would still be the same person.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
cool.
just all their actions are behind the screen. So
it would be bad if he used his little buddy's picture and then Jules showed up today. Then that would be catfishing.
That would be bad for many reasons.
Right. I'm just just like a weird Cupid. Like, let me hook this up, and then you go hold your hand to the room type of thing.
That's cool. All right. You also do jiu-jitsu.
We don't talk about jiu-jitsu on the podcast.
Here, let's segue into that.
When I'm not playing Cupid. I do.
You dabble in the jits?
I dabble in the jits.
Well, wait. So you said that we could talk about a case if you weren't working on it still, right?
Yes.
Because so let me. First off, I googled you.
We're going to talk about the case.
Yes.
I want to. Okay, go.
Because I didn't know anything about you besides jiu-jitsu. That's all I knew, and that's enough.
Did anybody else do any research?
No, I knew when I first wanted to ask him to the other podcast. I knew that he worked on the case that Janet's going to bring up.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I do.
Thompson.
Yes, exactly.
I don't know anybody by name, but I just know
The famous Thompson case.
So let's explain what Thompson is.
So go ahead. Give us a rundown.
I don't think I'd be the best qualified person, but okay.
I got it. I could do it.
Oh my god. No, like, I got the best qualified person.
It's going to start in the 20s and there's going to be alcohol. Elliot Ness did what?
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
It was a cold night.
It was a cold night.
Jules stared out the window. He knew it was cold because of the fog.
You compromise.
And then some, femme fatale walks in. So she's like, I have a case for you. And he's just like, I don't do cases anymore. Not since the last one.
Why am I seeing like the smoky office right now? Oh my god! Get out of my head!
There you go. See, I'm telling you.
Earwig. Get out of my head.
Okay, so maybe Jules should explain Thompson.
Go ahead,
let's
Jules.
paraphrase, and then Jules can just clear it up.
No. All right, go ahead.
Okay, so you want to do it? Okay, so basically, it'll be so funny if I'm wrong or I'm just talking about a different case. But there was this incident at a Denny's where somebody that might have been intoxicated. They called the police on him because maybe he was urinating in public or something. So the police officer, her husband ends up showing up to help her apprehend the person, and ends up like applying a rear naked choke on him and killing him. And that was the whole deal. I mean, am I kind of is that it?
Kind of, but not really.
Okay.
Young man goes to Denny's. He's smashed out of his mind. He goes to Denny's. As he goes to Denny's, his wife and his daughter go inside. And while they're inside, he then goes outside for whatever reason to go to the bathroom behind the truck. Now, not to offend anybody, but they are at Denny's that's connected to a truck stop in Crosby, Texas.
Oh, wow.
Pretty sure that's normal.
You know how many times I've seen men pee behind trucks? A lot.
Yeah, I mean,
especially at Denny's.
At Denny's and Crosby, Texas.
It's Texas. I mean, that's...
It ain't
I didn't even know there was a toilet till I was like...
This happened in Crosby? I thought it was like in the Heights or something.
No, this happened in Crosby.
It was Denny's, bro.
Doesn't matter what Denny's it was.
I don't think there's any Denny's in the Heights.
And so...
Yeah, I would be embarrassed to go to the restaurant in Denny's.
Right, like, I don't know who goes to the restaurant in Denny's.
Exactly.
So when the guy pulls up, he pulls up with Thompson. When he pulls up with his daughters in the car and one of their friends. He's coming back from a family get-together. And for whatever reason, he takes real offense to the fact that this guy is peeing behind the truck. And he starts to, like, cuss the guy out. As he's cussing the guy out, this is all on camera. The guy kind of looks over and is like, what? What? But they end up getting close to each other. Thompson may or may not have outweighed the guy, but he was definitely clearer. They end up in a fight, and then he does end up applying a rear naked choke to him.
Thompson on this other guy.
Thompson on the other guy.
And Thompson's the officer?
Thompson was not an officer. He was the husband of a police officer.
Oh, okay.
So when he gets into the fight, the daughter picks up the phone and calls her mom and is like, Dad's in a fight at Denny's. Wow. And then she comes up, and when she gets there, by all accounts, and all testimony, which is all public record, so I can say it. They say when she comes up to the scene, she says, "Get off of him." And that he looked at her. Everybody out there talking about how enraged he was. But they said he looked at her basically just deadpan, like didn't say anything, didn't do anything. And he's just staring at her. Now, then this whole event takes place over about the term of 15 minutes, and you have about 50 seconds of video from a guy who's there with his cell phone. The problem with the cell phone is what you see on the cell phone clip is him choking him and the wife going, "Stay still, stay the fuck still," whatever she's saying. But after working on the case, it is my sincere belief, and this never came out or anything, but it's my sincere belief that what she was doing was, after telling him to stop and he wouldn't, she was like, the only way I'm going to be able to get this man off of you is if you just acquiesce, just stop doing what you're doing. But he fought. He kept fighting, struggling. And then he ultimately ended up being killed on the porch of that Denny's.
That's a crazy thing.
Yeah, and I know that I was reading that there was like the Denny's, like the employee called the cops saying, "Hey, this man's gonna kill him. He won't stop. Choking him." And I mean, I don't know how obvious it was that he was drunk, but they hadn't even gone inside to eat yet. He was just.
That's the real tragedy.
Yeah, he didn't even get his meal before he died.
Well,
but like, and I also saw that he had like a history of being like his wife testified that he had in the past one time had hit her, while he was drunk. But I mean, I don't know. People do crazy shit when they're drunk, and
And then people also do crazy stuff all the time, right?
Yeah, all the time, and you don't have to blame it on the alcohol because it's you.
So, Miss Hernandez was probably a little bit aggressive. It could be at times, of course, according to his wife and everybody else. The problem was that this was one of those situations that was completely avoidable. It was just like you said, Janet. You've seen people pee behind trucks all the time.
Right.
Like, this is Texas. 90% of the men that pee outside. And you go to the right club downtown, there are women peeing outside next to their cars also. I mean, it's just what happened. And he said he was so offended by it that he had to do, I had to do something. This was offensive.
Wait a minute.
But his daughters were laughing, and they went into the Denny's, and they didn't really care about it. And if you were that offended, you just go to another restaurant.
This is Mr. Thompson being offended.
He said he was that offended.
Okay, so Mr. Thompson got offended on Mr. Hernandez.
Yes.
Mr. Hernandez was just peeing randomly, and then Mr. Thompson decided to go fight Mr. Hernandez, fights him, and then decides to not let go of him whenever Mr. Thompson's wife tells him, get off of him, right?
His own wife.
His own wife.
To get off of him.
Yeah, I bet you that's the one time where he was just... Because I bet you the power dynamic has to be different. She's the police, right? And then I bet you that was the one time where he was just like, not today, honey.
So...
And...
I have no proof of this. But I think that the power dynamic is exactly what you would expect it to be. I think that Mr. Thompson was always like that. Because your job is your job, but who you are is who you are.
Oh, okay. So it's not like some kind of like, this was the one time where he wanted to rise up against his dominant wife who obviously is doing way better than him in the hierarchy of manliness.
Right.
Okay. That's what I think.
I think he always was like that with his wife.
How did the case end up?
25 years.
For Thompson?
Mm-hmm.
Holy shit.
But when you did the trial, they declared
it was a mistrial.
Wow. They had to run it back.
They had to try it again. So
I like how.
That's what the judge said.
Is that what the
we
judge
gotta run this
said?
back.
Run back.
Yo, this was a good one. Let's run this one back. Bring back all of the evidence.
Bring out the dancing lobsters.
Bring out the dancing lobsters.
Cases.
A man died, people.
Yeah.
There will be no dancing lobsters this year.
You're saying that we're eating a cookie.
This is delicious cooking.
Yeah, they are.
It's like, I was like, oh.
Honestly, if there was video, the best part about you telling that whole case is that at the end you just took a bite out of the cookie. I was like, yeah, same.
We missed so many opportunities because we don't have video.
So, the hard part about trying cases where you have... The hard part about trying cases to juries, a lot of people want to make it about race, and race can play an issue, but...
I was hearing now in the news, people were making it about race.
Yeah, it's more about tradition. And what I mean by tradition is this. Somebody says to you, little old lady got robbed. We're going to put the person that robbed her on trial. You go, fuck that guy. You go, drug dealer got robbed. We're going to put the guy that robbed him on trial. And you go, yeah. You know,
right.
That's the problem. So when you look at the Hernandez situation, he's out there, middle of the night, pissed on the side of the thing, while Thompson initiated the verbal aggression as he was in front of the door to the Denny's. So as Mr. Hernandez approached to go back into the Denny's where his wife was, and they get close, Hernandez throws the first punch.
Yeah.
So then you end up with this weird kind of, well, was the guy defending himself, or when did you stop? And
how close was Mr. Thompson to Mr. Hernandez?
So they were probably a good 40 feet away initially, but it's 40 feet away in front of the door to the Denny's. So I could be 100 feet away, but my wife and my daughter are inside. Eventually, I have to close this gap because I have to get into the Denny's. Like, I'm here to get a moons over Miami, baby. You know, I have to get in. So as that distance approaches or closes, then it was completely unavoidable situation. It just was. But you know,
I personally can't think of a lot of crimes that justify losing your life. But I will point out that at least in Houston, I think it is against the law to urinate in public.
It's definitely against the law to urinate in public. Not a capital offense yet, though. Not a capital offense yet.
Yeah, you don't have to take up arms next time you see someone.
Be like, you, with your hand on your zipper, put it away. Put it away. Yeah, so,
sir, put the weapon down.
That's the part though that I find to be so bothersome and so offensive.
It's just so, like you said, completely avoidable.
Really avoidable.
Super unnecessary.
Is it just men being men? Can I say? Am I allowed to say that? Men are animals.
I mean, I am
on the mats.
I would say
I've been known to be
savage. All right, wrap it up, guys.
You said the word.
Yeah, I think a lot of it was because he's drunk Hernandez was drunk coming from watching his buddies play soccer or whatever he was doing. The 4th of July weekend. Thompson was coming from a family function. There's no proof of it, but he says he wasn't drinking at this family reunion. But
there was no blood test or anything.
Nobody tested him.
Nobody tested him because of the way they handled the case, which is terrible. But whatever.
Right?
Well, it was just they. So Mr. Hernandez dies on the scene, but they revive him because they revive him, and he punched Thompson first. if he would have lived, it would have been an assault case with him defending himself. With Thompson defending himself.
Wow.
That's
Because
completely different.
Because that's, I mean, the whole dynamic literally changed because he died. If he would have lived, he would have been the defendant in a case where he punched somebody and that person was injured and that person defended themselves. But when he choked him to death, the question with lethal force is the force the same that's used against you? And that's not, punching somebody is not worth the death. And so that's where it changed really fast, man.
Wow.
Two families lost their fathers,
Oh, yeah.
It's completely senseless. I 25 years? Jeez.
That's a long time. It's a long time to think about how that one time where you could have just listened to your wife, you decided not to.
Yeah. That's a lot. It's a lot.
I bet you she brings it up every time she goes visit him. Hey, remember that one time whenever you were about to kill this person and I told you don't, and then you were like, what could happen? And here we are.
Unless? No? I'm wrong? Okay. Screw me, right? Alright, that's fine.
Not everybody's up on the TikTok memes. No.
Yeah,
That doesn't
I'm too old. And TikTok's China owned, so I don't mess with that.
China owned.
Oh, it is actually owned. Actually, it is actually owned by.
Let's leave that for another.
I mean, it's crazy though. I mean, the algorithms.
Is there a case that you've worked on that you're just like, or at this point, are they all just kind of the same? Where you're just like, I can't believe this is actually happening, or is it?
Can't believe it keeps happening.
It's each one of them is kind of unique, but every time you see one, you just kind of go, "Ah, man, really? Like, Jesus, how did you end up here?" Like, it just, and the level of stupidity that you see is amazing. Halloween. Mighty Morphin Halloween.
That's right.
I got called out to a scene, a Mighty Morphin Halloween. For those who don't know, we were supposed to dress up as Power Rangers and go to the gym and surprise the kid with candy. We're going to be Power Rangers. And literally at 5 o'clock, like I'm about to get ready. I've got on my black Power Ranger suit and the moose knuckle and everything. And then I get a phone call. It's like, you have to go to the scene. I'm like, And so we get there, and this kid, 17 years old, driving down the street with an air pistol in the car. Runs from the police, and then, when his car wrecks out, he points the pistol out the car at the police. It's an air pistol. Why are you pointing this? A, what the fuck were you gonna do with it? And B, why are you pointing it at the police?
Jeez.
And then you end up being shot and killed. And it's like, how stupid can you be? And there was no drugs in the car, no warrants, it's like, why were you doing this?
So it was like basically for no reason.
Just completely stupid.
Was he dressed up or something?
He was dressed up as a stupid teenager.
Jeez.
Oh man, typical teenager thing to wear in Halloween.
You know what that reminds me of? You know that meme of the kid that's riding the bicycle, and then he grabs a stick, and then he sticks the stick inside of the
bike.
Yeah. That's the kind of, you know what? I'm not gonna lie. I've had moments like that myself, where you just you kind of fuck yourself over just because you can, just because the possibility is there. But man, never that bad to where you end up dead. Like, oh man.
Could you have one bad day? Do you think one bad day will destroy you?
But that's not one bad day. That's just
I mean, one bad decision to another, right? Like, let's just say that you made the bad decision of running from the cops. Now you're scared. You don't know what to do. And then you're like, oh man, what else could I do to try to I guess comes a point where you can no longer defuse the situation. So you just go deeper. You just,
high-speed chase.
Yeah. There's a high-speed chase. What are you going to do at this moment, right? You come to your senses in the middle of the high-speed chase, and you're like, I am driving a car at 120 miles per hour. What's the best case scenario for me? And really, there is none, right? There's none. There's only, you can go faster to try to get away. You can try to do something to try to there's no escaping. There's like a moment, right, where the escape velocity of the things that could go wrong pass, and then now you're just going.
So there's no rational at that point. There's only extremes.
Yeah, at that point, because there's nothing that will bring it back down because there's already consequences for the prior things, right? You shot someone, right, and then now what are you going to do? You made this crazy accident. Oh no, this person's bleeding. I can flee the scene, right? That's the type of thing that people do immediately, right?
Yeah.
Because it's the move to do because you don't know what to do, and now everything's too high staked.
So I got these for days. I actually had that case.
Which
one?
one?
I was a defense attorney. And this dude sitting in the house with his girlfriend, who is, kind of it's his girlfriend, and his buddy. They're bagging up cocaine to sell for the next day. Girlfriend takes a Kool-Aid spoon, Kool-Aid spoon, a big wooden spoon, puts a spoonful of cocaine on it, and it's like, I bet I can do all this. Oh. And they're like, no, you can't. And they go to bed. She says, yes, I can. Chomps down on a big spoonful of cocaine. What happens?
She dies.
She ODs.
Yeah.
Jeez. So they try to put her in the shower. It doesn't work. So what do? Cross my heart with stretch and elastic. They take her body, put it in a plastic tub, drive her to another county, and set the van on fire. What the fuck just happened? What are y'all doing?
That's not funny, but that's nuts.
I was like, I thought I was in a movie. I was like, this is a movie script. She OD'd. Nobody did anything to her. Why is her body in a tub burned up in the middle of Brazoria County?
Yeah, I'm telling you, that one thing leads to another, and then now you're putting a body in the back of a van.
So are you saying that if they would have just came forward instead of panicking, they wouldn't have gotten in trouble?
Yes.
Because what?
Yes, they wouldn't have gotten in trouble. So
they come to the cops.
So,
like, hey,
so you don't go. Yo, I was in here getting ready to sell a bunch of drugs tonight, and my chick. But you go, look, man. She uses drugs. She took some cocaine. She overdosed. I don't know. You don't have to leave the cocaine in the house when the cops come, or you Pulp Fiction. Put her in a car, drive her to the ambulance. Kick her out at the fucking emergency room door. Speed off. They get a chick there that's overdosed. But when you take the body and burn it, so he was tried for murder, and he actually was, he ultimately ended up being found not guilty of the murder because he didn't do anything. But
he just burnt the body.
And
he got convicted for some other stuff, arson and that type of stuff, but. It's like, why would you do that?
So, here's the problem. You, knowing what you know, would make decisions in that way. Those guys, because I'm putting myself in their head. Somebody just died, and I was getting ready to sell drugs. Like, I don't know how this is going to work out for me.
Exactly.
But so, fair enough. But what would you do? What would you do?
I mean, I what I'm saying is, I can see how it's relatable, the level of panic that could cause me to say, I need to do something about
this. This is the part where in court you go, objection, Your Honor, non-responsive. Just answer the question, Frankie. What would you do in that situation?
Yes,
Frankie just trying to pitter-patter around saying that he would put the girl in the van.
Right. He was like, I would have put her in the van.
It's what he's trying to say. He just doesn't know how to say it.
Okay, to answer your question, I don't know what I would do. That sounds like a very extreme situation, and I would probably panic. To put it simply, I would panic.
So I can totally get panicking, and even to the point where, because like my mind goes, "What do you do in this situation?" And I go, "You don't know what to do. I'm taking my dope and I'm fucking leaving. Like I'm just gonna leave. I was like, fuck it, I'm out. Like I don't know what to do next. She's dead."
That sounds like what a good criminal would do.
Well, maybe, but
criminals don't go into crime because they have high IQs.
This is true, but I was like, man, And and even if you don't have a high IQ, your criminal IQ, your crime IQ.
Oh, it has to be high.
It has to be because you're a criminal. Like this is what you do.
I take that away. I'm not gonna give him that. That guy should have not burnt that body.
You know what I would do? I would call my lawyer.
And he did. He actually did have a lawyer.
Wait. Who's your lawyer?
Hold on.
Who judges the judged?
He actually had a lawyer, so did he burn the body and then call his lawyer?
Mm-mm. He burned the body. He burned the body and went back to doing what he was doing
after he got caught.
After he got caught.
How did he get caught?
So he gets caught because it was him and his buddy. They somehow traced back to the fact that she was with him. Then the last person she was with him. They followed his cell phone pings all the way down to where they found the van. And then, it's like, oh, God. Then they arrest him. Then his buddy turns state's evidence. But his buddy actually told him, he's like, she said that y'all don't think I'll do this? Because the state's position was he set out to kill her.
Mm.
And the only other person in the room was like, no, she said she was going to take all this cocaine off a Kool-Aid spoon. Nobody thought she would do it. And then she did it. And by the time you ingested, what else do you do?
I feel like everybody involved here was pretty stupid.
Super stupid.
You were defending this guy?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
And you have to talk to him and get the whole story, I would assume. What's that like?
How do you not smack
Did you give him a hard time at any point or no?
So I definitely gave him... So the way I am is just the way I am. I was like that with my clients. I'm like that with victims' families, whatever. It's the way I am. And so... But you talk to him and I was just like, what were you... Dude, that was it? You couldn't think of anything else. And he was like, but I had all that cocaine in the house. I was like, so move it. Just take the cocaine out of the house. And why did you have to burn up the body? He was like, oh, man, I guess, And I was like, and now look at you.
Damn,
you got to know about
the whole sentence happened there.
Yeah,
a couple of things happened.
Come on, man, what are you doing? And so, it's very, very weird. And it's very weird to talk to people when they've committed offenses. Because one of the reasons that I wanted to get out of the criminal defense portion of it is because even when people do something wrong and super stupid, it's always somebody else's fault.
Right. They don't own up to it.
They will never own up to it. It's always somebody else's fault. And you are a shitty lawyer if you can't get the case dismissed for something that they clearly did. Mm-hmm. Like, why didn't you get me off? And I was like, well, because you did it.
Do you ever feel like some type of ethical dilemma because these people did it?
So I think that there could be one, but my end around that was I never actually asked them what they did. So as a defense attorney, you don't have to prove that you didn't do it because you can't prove a negative.
Right.
You end up with an imaginary number.
That's not true. Continue.
That's science fact. Continue.
That's not true.
Mathematical certainty.
I can tell you that 100% is not true.
So you can't prove a negative.
Yes.
So they have to prove that you did it. So what my theory was I'm going to take all the stuff that they say that they have that proves that you did it, and let's just negate all of the stuff that they have. And each time we negate something, that builds our reasonable doubt and gets us to the end without me ever having to actually know what you did. Because it's hard. You go, well, you're defending a murder. It's like, yeah, I really wanted her to die. And now I need you to get me off. And they're like, okay, well, now I think you're a shitbag and I think you need to be in prison. So I just would never ask.
We talked about on a previous podcast about how it's basically impossible in this day and age to get away with murder with technology being the way it is. And you bringing up the cell phone pings that kind of confirm that.
That's right.
Oh, no, you can absolutely get away with murder. Happens all the time.
What?
Yeah.
There you go. Janet's secret plan A going back to business.
Yeah, cause I was of the consensus that you can't get away with it. And then he was like, well, if you play all your cards right.
That's correct.
You just have to know that it is not the easiest thing to do. And partially because of our digital footprint. So your digital footprint is huge. But like right now, it's 11 o'clock at night. Ordinarily, I would be at home. I'm out. I got cell phones. They're all over the place. They're driving around. But if I was single, no wife, no baby, I could leave my phones at home and just be like, I don't want to talk to anybody. Where you try to check where my cell phones are at home at 11 o'clock at night like they always are. Meanwhile, I'm out killing somebody. I mean, but you just have to be very conscious of your digital footprint. You have to be conscious of the fact that right now, there are literally, how many people are in Houston? 4 million?
I don't know.
So there's probably 3 million security cameras because everybody has a cell phone. So everybody has a phone that could be recording what you did. Every business has a camera that's recording where you are. And there was one case that they were trying to figure out who killed, how this body ended up on the beach, Surfside Beach, Quintana Beach, somewhere down there near Galveston.
Oh, crap.
NASA, satellite, beam.
What?
No way.
Photo enhanced the car that was at the location where the body was.
Hence.
It's impossible. It's impossible.
It's really really a very difficult.
All right, I got you.
Imagine being that guy, like, fuck, NASA snitched on me.
Like fucking Neil Armstrong. Right, exactly. I thought they closed that place down.
I know, right? No, they just had the anniversary of I think it was the anniversary of the moon landing, and it was packed.
Really?
Like, people were trying to go into the Space Center.
Good.
Wow.
No,
Good.
I'm glad it's, the businesses are booming.
That sucks, man. That really sucks. But I think I could get away with this still. So
Yeah, I mean, it's like I say. Well, you got a bunch of people right now. I mean, you have people that are found not guilty of murder all the time. So
maybe if the digital footprint is too random, it's just like, wait a minute, why is the cell phone ping? At I don't know. I guess at a Denny's at 12 at night, and then all of a sudden the cell phone ping goes off, and then this person died because he got choked by Thompson.
they don't. Wow, they don't. It really is very difficult to do, and a lot of it is also people aren't meant to kill people, and it's very hard for people to live with.
Oh,
It's very difficult for people to live with. So most people that kill people that get caught have in some way, they kill somebody, they come in and they sit down and go over and they sit down and they're at the Savages and Scholars podcast and they're just sitting down and they're just like, man, I had to do it. And then you're thinking it's a joke and they do what? And like, man, the bitch just wouldn't shut up. And you're like, oh shit, what just happened? Because they have to get it off their chest.
oh shit! Telltale heart.
Yeah. Like, you have to be a real psychopath to just kill somebody and like, fuck it, I'm gonna go get a moons over Miami.
Right?
Like, you have to, like, oh, God.
Tying it all in with the premise of this podcast, you recently got your brown belt.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thanks, sir.
Right. But no, that's well deserved.
You're almost, like, it's funny because like in jiu-jitsu, the minority belts count more.
Yes.
Oh my god.
The very first thing that I saw when I Googled you, Jules, was that you're like the first, I think it said something about you winning, you're number one in Texas, or some bullshit like that.
Yeah, that was a while ago or something. I don't know when that was. I was close.
Was that the first thing? Not even his lawyer shit?
No, it was like, black lawyer wins gold in jiu-jitsu tournament.
Oh, that was when I won Master Worlds.
Yes.
When I won Master Worlds.
Nice.
Number one in the world. Lives in Houston, baby.
There went article. So now let's talk a little bit about jiu-jitsu and let's talk about this. I guess Miguel will be the third in command.
Yeah, because I'm the first. Well, with you.
Well, you guys were the Supreme Tacos, and then I was the host.
I went to. So I was going and I heard all the stuff, and I was training all these places, and I was kind of rolling, and the guy was like, man, you gotta go to Pablo Silva, you gotta go to Pablo Silva.
Who's this?
This was Izzy's cousin, Steve. I used to train with him in Metro. You gotta go to Pablo Silva, whatever. So I go to a Fuji tournament, and I went and tried the Atos. I go to the Fuji tournament, and I see this little dude, I have no idea what he's saying, but he runs over to the mat, and this guy's competing on the mat, and he's like, do this. The guy gets his hand raised, and I'm like, that guy's gonna be my coach. That's the first time I saw Pablo. I had no idea who he was.
Before that, have you trained any jiu-jitsu, or were you doing other martial arts?
No, I trained Muay Thai and Jiu-Jitsu with Saul Solis at Metro Fight Club.
Okay.
And then when Atos came to Deer Park, I was there for that 10 minutes that it was open. And then, like I said, I was Ronin for a little while. And so then I go and I'm like, man, who is that guy? And I was like, yeah, that's Pablo Silva. And I was like, oh, okay, bet. I'm going there. And I go in and I go over to the Stella Link location. And I'm greeted at the Stella Link location by this little short dude with a blue belt on. And his voice is super nasally. And he's like, what? You want to try a class? Okay, come on. And I was like,
who could it be?
So I come into the first class and I'm there and I'm stature wise, I'm bigger than Miguel. Everybody's bigger than Miguel. And so this dude fucked me up. I mean,
Miguel is a blue belt.
This is Miguel's a blue belt. And so then I was like, okay. And probably the training was really super hard. I was like, oh my God. And so I left. It was me and my buddy David that came. And then we left. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to sign up. And David was like, I'm going to sign up too. And so I went, I signed up, and I came and I got my ass kicked steadily for a long time. Still, to this day. And then one day, Miguel, who religiously, like people go to church on Sunday, like Miguel would whoop my ass religiously. He was like, just to remind you that I'm here, I'm going to fuck you up again today. And then one day, we were sitting, I don't even remember what school we were, but Miguel was like, I remember when you first came in the gym after that first class, I was like, he's never coming back. And I was like, motherfucker tried to rub me out. I was like, Miguel fucked me up. I was like, it was so brutal. I was like, oh my God, you gotta be kidding me.
Dude, I made a bet with myself, and I was just like, out of these two, the white guy is gonna come back. I don't know the guy's name, so David, right? So, I thought that he would come back because I felt like he had more an affinity to doing it. Like, he seems like he could move better. But, honestly,
is Dave still there, or is he?
I don't know where Dave is at, but I know that he ain't as good as Jules.
He signed up, and was coming for a little while, and then he stopped.
That's fine.
I think he stopped at Blue Belt, actually.
I like when Miguel tells, because Miguel told us that story. Well, he told us that story. He didn't think you'd come back, and you proved him wrong. But when he tells it, that it's just that. When you tell the truth, it turns out that he was trying to run you off. He was trying to make his prediction come true.
No, that's not true. That is a wrong prediction. Here's the thing. The only way that I feel that you can respect someone is by giving them the most you can, or the most they can handle. Jules can handle a lot.
Miguel fucked me up. And it was funny, and so this is honestly still, Anthony don't know. Frank, do you ever get to roll with Miguel? Frankie?
Yeah. He'll disassemble you.
He's super aggressive. He's small. He's got the Napoleon thing. And with this,
there's definitely
skip that part.
Napoleon.
Just rewind, carry rewind. Can we go back? But it's funny because like everybody has like another gear that they switch onto. It's just I haven't seemed to been able to find Miguel's last gear. You know what I mean? Like and it's just like, oh my God, you've got to be kidding. And it was when we were back over there on Stella Link. Pablo's favorite training partner was Miguel, and it's abundantly obvious at this point. It's Jesus Christ, man, this kid. He's little and shit, small, but he's aggressive.
That's been mentioned multiple times.
I'm small, but
right. It's like. Do y'all remember the treasure trolls? It's like a treasure troll that knows jiu-jitsu.
I think in recent pop culture, he's like Baby Yoda. Or something.
He's like a Baby Yoda. And he's just standing over there looking at you like, pick me, and so he can fuck you up because he has.
If he wants to, he can just use the force to pick up that giant beast.
Baby Yoda. That's it. He's like, hey guys, I got the force.
So knowing what you know about jiu-jitsu and knowing what you know about lawyering, when it comes to like altercations, is there any situation where using your jiu-jitsu could like get you in trouble, or does that ever come to mind? You know, like that guy Thompson used the rear naked choke, right?
So it absolutely could get you in trouble. And I've actually learned this because one of my first jiu-jitsu coaches was a guy named Jared Lewis, who was also a bouncer. And he would say things like, and Dinko used to be a bouncer. Beckton.
From Revolution?
From Revolution, yeah.
Oh, no shit.
And one of the things that so the beauty of it is you learn how to control people. Mm-hmm. So you don't have to choke them. You can just control them. And that's where the line gets drawn. So Thompson and Hernandez, there's video of Hernandez tapping out.
Oh,
He's tapping the ground. He's tapping.
Oh wow!
So if you know jiu-jitsu, you go, well, the guy's tapping. He's giving up. I'm gonna let him go now. When you don't let him go, that's when you have a problem.
Ah.
That's when you have an issue. And so, but I definitely think that it's not worth it from a legal standpoint, criminally or civilly, to go out and break somebody's arm in an armbar because they'll sue you.
Right.
They'll sue you and they can possibly win. It's much better to take somebody, get them in a backpack, hold them there. If somebody's trying to rob you, harm you in some way, take their back, sit on them, control them, get them out, get a nice knee on belly where you're not necessarily hurting them like to kill them, but you've got them pinned, you've got the situation under control, and use it for positional dominance as opposed to the actual submission.
Right, you get your 2 points and you hold.
Right, you get your 2 and then you hold. That's the way you do this. You get your hand raised. So, even in Advantage, I mean, you know, you get a nice half guard with a good crossface. That's the advantage at the end of the match. Yeah,
you just fall to the ground and say, "Jump on my guard."
Right. Oh, definitely butt scoot.
Yeah.
There's no way. Guy runs up to me, middle of the night, shotgun. I'm pulling.
Bro, I bet you that guy wouldn't even know what to do.
He's like Eminari rolls to his knee. He's like, "What the fuck?"
We should do a video series, instructionals, where we like put life situations where, like maybe Miguel points a gun at you, Jules, and you just show like in this situation, I would pull De La Hiva or something like that, you know.
McDojo.
Oh, McDojo.
For a second, I thought you said Mig Dojo. I was liking that.
The Mig Dojo?
The Mig Dojo.
That's the name of the school when he opens it up. Mig Dojo.
Well, there's a website, Mig Dojo, right?
Mm-hmm.
They show a lot of,
Mac Dojo.
It would be, the door to Miguel School would be a lot. Not probably like 4 or 5 feet off the ground. How tall are you, Miguel?
I'm 5'4" and a half.
You gotta do the
Miguel's a powerful 5'4". All right, you get that right.
I'm just messing with him to be messing with him.
Because
he's picking you tomorrow.
Last time.
Right. But no, all it was a joke, Miguel. I did it for the rating.
No, I would always want to have like a really open door policy, like no door.
What?
Come on in if you think you're bad enough.
No, man, Stella Link was the most brutal place on the planet.
I agree.
Unequivocally.
I agree.
He would lock the door in the front.
No circulation.
Lock it. Yes, literal locking of the door.
Well, he would lock it, if I remember correctly. I wasn't there, but I've heard stories that he would lock it because it was next door. It was located next door to the Workforce Solutions. So you'd have a lot of people coming in, a lot of people who, let's say, necessarily weren't the clientele Pablo was looking for. I heard a story where someone came in and challenged him to a duel to death. And
somebody once came in with one skate, right? So, we were all rolling, and then this dude, with really puffy hair. You know, he had like a blue jacket, and like very tall guy, very lanky, and he just comes in, opens up the door very flamboyantly, and it's just like, "Hey, you guys seen my other skate?" And everybody was like, "What?" This is like in the middle of the most hardcore type training, Monday night training, right? Monday night training is always the hardest. And it's just like, this guy just yells out this thing about skates, and then, you know, everybody just doesn't know how to answer. And he goes like, "I guess it's next to my other shoe," and then he just walks out. Now, he did have a shoe and one skate, so that logic does.
Makes sense.
They probably are together somewhere.
Oh my god!
All right, so Jules,
What's up?
now that we've gotten to the end of the podcast, I would like to ask, how does it feel to win the Worlds? Is it as cool as, you know, I guess?
It is. I can still hear it. Like, I still hear what was going on around it. It's an amazing feeling.
Wow.
It's really amazing. And it's like, I remember, I look up, and when I went, it was my second time going. I was still a blue belt. My mom was there. My dad was there. My wife was there. Paulo was there.
All the cool kids were there.
Yeah.
I wasn't there. No.
But but it was just everybody was there, and then at the end of the match, I think the last match I won by advantage. Maybe I passed. I don't remember. But I remember, I know I was ahead, and when the ref said "Paro," I just did the back. I just rolled, did a backflip, and was like, "Holy shit!" And it was like the road that was there had 5 or 6 matches. It was the first time I'd ever really seen worm guard, and a guy put me in. This was an earlier match. The guy put me in worm guard, and Pablo just kept yelling at me, "Step over the leg." And so I just kept stepping over the guy's legs. So all I did for like 5 minutes was step over the guy's leg, and I got an advantage. And the guy at the end, he was like, "Man, your worm guard defense is really good." And I was like, "Yeah, thanks." Don't even know what worm guard is.
The what? Say that again. You like writing it down?
Right. It's like, and then there was another guy that I was really super worried about because he was there on the way, and he was just double legging people like crazy, like picking them up and just putting them on their backs, and just got on top and smashing them. And he went in for a shot, and I sprawled, and then he tapped. And I see him even now. He's like, I had a really bad weight cut, and like everything locked up when I went for that shot. He was like, I just couldn't go anymore. He's like, "I'm sorry you had such a bad match." And I was like, "Nope, thank you." It's like, I appreciate it. But it was,
I'm sorry you had such a bad match.
Yeah, it really is. But even more than that, I had a lot of fun this year when I went to the Pyramid and did Worlds. So I'm Master 3. I guess that means I'm 42.
Is that what you guess, or is that what it is?
I think I was born in 1977, so I'm 42.
I'm not good at math. I'm not going to do this.
Yes, I feel that.
And
yeah.
I went to Worlds this year, like at Long Beach in the Pyramid, and just got completely wrecked. But that was the pinnacle of you got to go. You have to go, and you have to go to compete. You have to go to compete.
Cool.
No, I'm serious.
All right.
What made you want to go compete at Worlds with all the young people at 42?
Age ain't nothing but a number. Going down ain't nothing but a thing. No. Okay, that's a song.
No, yeah, I know.
I was like, no, man. It's one of the things that all of us know is Pablo just really prides himself on pushing you to your own limit. Like, you figure out what your limit is. And I was like, fucking, I'm going to go to Worlds. And Connor DeAngelis was in my division. And I was like, fuck that guy. I'm going to beat him. I didn't make it that far. But there's always next year.
That's good. I like that.
I mean, it was so, when I walked into Master Worlds the first time, you walk in there, it's all the old guys. It's all the Shaolins and the Oceanders and the Homolo, and all these guys are there, right? And you're just like, oh, you're completely awestruck. When you walk into the Pyramid, oh my God. because it's not only the old guys, it's like the new up and comers, and they're all there and they're walking around, and you're like, and it's like I'm about to be on the same mat with these guys,
bro. You know what's crazy though? It's as time passes by, it's gonna be more and more like where the old generation, the new old generation, right? The new old generation is going to be just a whole bunch of badasses. Like Master Worlds just opened up not too long ago, like maybe 2012, I think it was when it started. Right. So like we haven't had like the class that we are going to have this next couple of years. The Master Worlds is going to be just as important as the Worlds, because it's going to be like all of those dudes that you grew up watching just fucking doing their thing in jiu-jitsu. In jiu-jitsu, you can do whatever it is. You know, you could just, like, doing berimbolo can happen at 60, at 70, you know? So
when you think about it, like, along that same vein, you got to think about who's in Master Worlds now. Galvao. Both the Mendez brothers.
Mm-hmm.
Cobrinha. Kyle Terra. You know, I mean, like, all these guys are Bruno Malfacine. Like, all these guys they're masters. They just don't do Master Worlds yet.
Mm-hmm.
But, I saw Megaton put some dude on his back. Like, it's you gotta go.
The beautiful jiu-jitsu happens everywhere.
You gotta go. It's really good.
All right, okay, last thing. How does it feel after winning the Worlds, coming back and then getting your ass whooped by a blue belt?
By Miguel.
I'm joking. Not me, but somebody. I'm sure that it happened. I'm sure that you came back. I mean, we've rolled since, right. So I at least can account for my rolls.
So, wow. Tomorrow we go. We're gonna. It's the thing about jiu-jitsu that's super duper humbling is if you don't play your game, you could very much end up in trouble. So you bump into. You bump into a white belt with a really good cross choke, you get into his close guard, you let him get his grips, he might as well just put your ass to sleep. If that may be the only thing that he can do, but if he does it well, you're in a lot of trouble. Just like it could just be that today is your day and nothing can stop you today, and their plans didn't work. So that's what I like, that ebb and flow that is jiu-jitsu. It's great, man. I've been choked out since winning Master World. My purple belt debut, I lost triangle choke and was put to sleep in the absolute. Wow. And that was like within 6 months of winning Master World.
That's cool, because that means like you can only go up from there.
right. Well, didn't get any worse than this. I guess I could get shot, but yeah.
You could like shit your pants, but that would be a different one.
Did you hear about that?
No. Did you?
I did. You remember Judo Jesse?
Yes.
Judo Jesse was competing in the San Antonio Open. He rolls with this guy. He rolls with the guy. He judo throws the guy. Boom. They're going. All of a sudden, you see like the smear in the back of the guy's pants. And you're like, what the hell? Jesse beats the guy. And you're like, you think like, sure. So just like, man, the guy started to smell like shit. The guy shit himself. And he disappeared. Like, after he lost that match, he disappeared. I've never seen or heard from this guy again.
Bro, I bet you that guy changed his name.
Oh, yeah, for sure. For sure.
He's like changed hair color. He has like different pupils now.
No, that's yeah. Straight face off.
Yeah, straight up, you know.
Yeah.
It looks like Nicolas Cage.
It was good, man. It's good.
Well, I guess you convinced me. I'm going to start.
Anyway,
shit themselves is awesome.
Yeah.
That's all it took.
When I started out training with Sauce Elise, I was 255 pounds. I was a big dude. And then it's been a good road. It helps you change your life. You get in shape. You do all that stuff. You stop worrying about stuff. When I tell people, because you get put in so many compromising positions, like life in general doesn't seem as stressful because nobody's trying to kill you. Like if you've ever been on the bottom of Frankie's side control. I mean, I don't know if anybody's ever been there.
Never been there.
I've been there.
I've been there.
I've been there. And then you start going, yeah. Like you get other places and people are yelling at you like, that's not a big deal. Get under Frankie's side control. You tell me what matters more to you then.
So yeah, bro.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And so yeah, it's really cool.
All right, that was awesome. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up. But does anybody have anything else that they feel like they wish to ask Jules, or they feel that they need to say to add to the podcast? Only to add, not to take away. It better be Jules.
Oh, Miguel, I can't wait for you to get video. I can't wait for you to go video.
You're going to come back when we have video, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, look even more like a bum.
Wow! Holy shit.
Oh, man.
No. This is the thing that Jules does. All right? Jules dresses super nice most of the time. Except for whenever he doesn't have to dress nice. In which case, it's just like, I want to get confused.
Please confuse with a homeless guy.
It's like, you know where you are right now, right?
Right, like you gotta play it safe. No, yeah, you're right. I did get my haircut though. So
I didn't know, it's very clean.
I did get my haircut.
I'm like, that edge up says something.
You know, we're going to be in the presence of an attorney. I put my blazer on. Next time we have video, I'll wear like a top hat. And
you know what? This is a risque move, but the double blazer. A blazer for your pants and a blazer for your hands.
We should get video and everybody dressed like it's the 20s. That way, when Miguel does his voice,
hairstyle,
it all makes sense.
It
all makes sense.
Like
it'll be shot in black and white.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
I want it to be War of the Worlds type thing.
Oh. Yeah?
Yeah.
Tom Cruise War of the Worlds?
No, you know,
the original.
The original where there was like an audio opera.
Orson Welles or
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good stuff.
And you know, people were just jumping off of bridges because they thought that the world was going to end. Yeah. And it will. Next time. All right, guys, it's been a good one. I'm going to end the podcast now. No, and we're done.
Done.
Clap means we ended it.
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 Done.
Clap means we ended it.